Hello, everyone. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. What a great show today. You know, everybody reaches out to me and they say, Jake, listen, we love shows when we can learn so much about how to really promote our business, how to put our brand out in the universe, how to learn about publicity, because we all know that publicity is just so important for companies to take that next step, that next evolution to greatness. So, of course, with so many people reached out, we've gone through the Rolodex as we always do. And we reached out to Sharon Devonish Leid, and she is a publicity strategist at NetStruc PR. She has so many years of experience. You won't even believe it, how many years of experience that she has once you see her on the screen. But Sharon, we're so excited to have you on the show today. We've got so many questions. So many people have written in. They said, Jake, make sure when you get Sharon on the show, ask her these questions. So we're going to do it. Sharon, welcome to the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Thank you so much, Andy, for having me. I'm excited about this.
Sharon, this is so great to have you on the show. It's such an honor. You're an award-winning publicity strategist. So many people know what you do at NetStruc PR. You've got a few offerings that are just so interesting, including people learn about PR. But before we get started, let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet and tell us what you do at NetStruc PR.
Well, what I do at NetStruc PR is I help entrepreneurs, small businesses, find out how to utilize media, really public relations, because public relations is not only just media, it's not just interviews. It's a host of other tools that what you use to expand on your brand. And it's all about brand exposure. So I help businesses understand how important it is to have the right brand exposure, utilizing the right tools, using media interviews, reaching out to ideal clients, their target audience, networking, conferences, being speakers. So I teach entrepreneurs how to utilize these tools the best way so they can get the biggest bang for their exposure.
I love it, Sharon. So many people reach out to you. So many CEOs and C-level executives reach out to you at the company at NetStruc PR. What does that first conversation sound like? Did they say, hey, Sharon, I need some PR, or I'm not handling my PR well, or I need some additional branding? What does that first conversation sound like with you, Sharon, when they call you up on the phone?
Well, the first conversation is they always say, I need PR, but I always have to pull back, pull the levels, like an onion. You got to peel those levels down and really find out, do they really know what PR is? Because people get mixed up between PR and marketing. And I tell them, I said, listen, what are you really looking for? Are you looking for brand exposure? Are you looking for your clientele to understand and see your expertise or build your credibility? That's what I do. I mean, if you're looking for immediate sales driving, that's a marketing person. And, and I tell people, I said, that's not me. I stay in my lane, and it's really interesting when you see the light bulb get, lit up when I explain that to them, because they're like, oh, okay, no, I need this. And, fortunately, I have a great network that I literally can just, push them over to someone who does great marketing for me, because at the end of the day, they need to have that strong online footprint and marketing before we actually tap into getting the brand exposure out there.
Yeah, Sharon, that makes all the sense in the world. And for the younger entrepreneurs watching the show, rewind what Sharon just said, because there is a difference between marketing and PR. And when Sharon has these conversations with a lot of people, she has to explain and get into it a little bit what the difference is. And of course, you offer a very interesting approach. You offer one-on-one coaching. Yes. And you offer an opportunity for people really to work with them to craft their message. Yes. And sort of, craft the message for the right media to pick up the story. So let's talk about that, because I love this one-on-one coaching program. It takes a number of months with you, but when people get done, they just rave about it.
Yes, absolutely. So I started this part of my business only because there were so many people that were asking the question. So when I do the done for you and I produce everything, they ask me, well, how did you do that? And I always turn around and I talk to them about it and I show them, I said, well, listen, this is the technique and what you need to do. And, patience is a virtue when you're dealing with media. When you're dealing with, sending out pitches, reaching out to media, you have to be extremely patient, but you also have to understand angles. And so when I decided to put this part for my business, I said, you know what, let me put a coaching component in place, because there are so many entrepreneurs, one, that once they're finished with me, they want to continue this. It's not that I want to keep clients on for eternity. It's just, small businesses can actually do PR if it's done the right way. And that's where I figured, this is a good opportunity for me to show them of my 20 plus years and how I learned how to do PR. Let me show them how to do it also. And it's been great. I mean, they embrace it. Yes, it's a little difficult because, within the time frame when I do it with them, obviously I have 20 plus years, but they grasp on it. And the more that they practice and the more that I work with them, the more results that they get.
I love it, Sharon. It's so interesting. Now, you mentioned something that's sort of a PR word. Maybe some of the younger entrepreneurs don't quite understand what you might mean when you talk about an angle. So a lot of companies, they go straight forward and, they talk about their technology or their business, and their story doesn't have any pizzazz. There's not really something that they can really look to sort of get people interested. And I think that's what you're talking about with regard to this angle. But let's suss that out a little bit for the people that don't understand what an angle is.
So let's really talk about what an angle is, because you're right. So many people do not understand what I mean by angle. And when I break it down, again, the light bulb goes off. So when I talk to clients, I ask them, what is it about your business that either can be newsworthy, can either be, that brings an awareness, or does it, solve a problem? Does your business do any of that? And what I mean, and it's so interesting because sometimes they don't even think about that. They just think about, okay, this is what my business does, and just hover in on it. No, listen, media loves what you're doing. It's what you are looking to do is marketing. You're looking to sell. In public relations, we're not selling, we're telling a story. So because you're telling a story, we have to figure out what this particular journalist is writing about. And now we have to figure out, how does your brand fit into this particular story that this journalist is talking about? And that's what I mean by an angle. We have to figure out, we have to maneuver, we got to, bob and weave if we have to figure out how can we be part of that storyline that journalist is talking about. And that's what I mean by angles.
I love it, Sharon. And of course, I get to speak to entrepreneurs all over the world. And one thing that comes very clear with you and your offering is your passion about public relations. I mean, when you talk about it, your eyes just light up and you get this big smile on your face. I mean, I love it so much. Now, you also offer sort of what I call done for you public relations for those companies that really want the brand exposure, but they want you to handle it instead of taking them through the class that you have. So let's talk about that, because you've become known for that throughout the years and you do such a great job. How does that work with your clients?
Well, those are for much bigger clients. Those are for larger companies. I have a hospital system that I work with. I also have a very large non-for-profit organizations that I work with. Those are the type of companies that I do done for you services with. And that's when I bring on my entire team and we do everything. We do the social media, we do the communications, we do the public relations, we do everything. When I mean done for you, we do the done for you. But again, that's with much larger companies where their bank accounts are a little bit larger than the average entrepreneur. So that's something where I only really offer that to the bigger companies. I have had some entrepreneurs that are doing extremely well for themselves. And, they said, listen, I just don't have the time for the coaching. And that's where I'll introduce the done for you services for them. And they are completely happy with it. They just don't have the time to do it. And I'm completely fine with it. It's just that, entrepreneurs, even no matter where they are in their business, sometimes they just don't have that deep pockets is what I should say, as their larger competitors. And that's where the opportunity rises, where, the done for you services come in.
Yeah, I love it so much. And let's get back to a startup entrepreneur just for a moment, because we have a lot of startup entrepreneurs watching the show. Some of them are bootstrapped, some of them are well-funded, some of them are on the way to becoming well-funded. And one thing that's very, very important, obviously, and one of the reasons why you've become so successful is you have to be able to sort of tell your story. So when a startup entrepreneur calls you, do you say to yourself sometimes, wow, he or she's got the technology, they've got the team, they've got the great sort of, platform, but man, oh man, they just don't understand how to get that angle out there. And what does that sort of sound like and resonate in your mind, with regard to the startup founders that don't quite understand the importance of having a good angle?
Well, I always do a deep dive consult with them when we first initially start, because I have to see, one, are they coachable? Are they willing to be open to change and new things? Sometimes when you start your business, you started off with passion. You started off with, I love doing this, and I'm just going to go right into it. Listen, I was the same way. I had to get a coach for myself to learn how to promote myself and how to get myself out there. So I have this initial deep dive conversation. I send them it's about 40 questions that they really have to do deep down and answer these questions. And then we go over it. And going over it, part of it is, why did you decide to do this business? What drove you to it? Tell me a storyline that gave you the passion for it. Because when you look at some bios, they give the basics. I'm like, we don't want to hear the basics. I want to hear when you were 10 years old and you saw a police officer that saved someone, that drove you to really want to become a police officer, or that became you to start up your own investigations agency. I want to hear what impacted you so strong for you to do. That's what I want in your bio. And that's what we go over, because media would look at it and say, that's interesting. I've never seen it that way. And when we pull out these different stories that you really did not think would have been applicable to promotion wise or exposure or just letting people know about it, you would be surprised.
Wow, it's so great. People love a great story. And of course, I'm listening to and I'm saying to myself, man, I need to redo my bio a bit, because it's not really like resonating in a way that you're mentioning. I'm sure a lot of people watching the show as well are thinking to themselves, I have a great story, but I'm not really sharing that with anybody. And it's not really resonating with anybody. And it's not really making a difference in the world. It's not being impactful. And I'm sure they're saying to themselves, man, I need to reach out to Sharon. I mean, this is just awesome. The kind of knowledge that you have and the way you break it down, because public relations is not easy. It's not really a simple thing. It's complex, but it takes someone like you with your experience over 20 years, Sharon, to really put it into a nice, neat bow so people can understand it. Hold their hand, if you will, if they want, of course, your complete offering, or take your courses to learn how to do it themselves. Now, Sharon, one thing that came across, and we had a little bit of a pre-phone call here earlier this morning. I mean, I'm saying to myself, Sharon, she's a super mom. I mean, she's dealing with her family. She's got this burgeoning business. When we think about, what you're doing in the PR space, Sharon, what's the thing that gets you up in the morning? What's your why? What's the thing that really sort of gets you excited to wake up out of bed, get that feet on the ground and get going?
My legacy. I have 3 sons and my husband, and again, 3 sons. So you can imagine what my household is. Okay. Plus my husband, I'm outnumbered. But I have a legacy where my passion is going to create generational wealth for my kids. And this is something where, one of my sons already kind of has my personality already. Like, he could walk up to someone and just talk to someone with no problem. My other son, he's a techie. So I am looking to, when I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, okay, I got my to-do list. I have my clients that I have to reach out to. I have to do some more promotions for myself. It's all about lining this up for my family. So one, they can turn around and work for my business. It's a family business. That's what I want. That's what drives me. That's what I say to myself every day, that I don't want my sons to say that they have to go out and work for someone when they have a business right here in their family and they can add on to it. So with their own skills and their own love and passion, they can add it on to our business. My husband has his own business also. He's my photography and videographer. So we put all of these things together and we have a perfect package for clients when they come. So that's my why. My family is my why.
I love it, Sharon. And of course, over your left shoulder, you have a sign that says Girl Boss. And I think that really is your title, over at NetStruc PR. Now, listen, we have a lot of entrepreneurs watching the show. And as all entrepreneurs, they're hitting a roadblock throughout their journey. They're hitting a wall, perhaps. Maybe they freeze in the frame. They don't know what to do. So maybe, Sharon, you could give some advice to the entrepreneurs watching the show about what it takes to kind of push through tough times, what it's like to hit a wall as an entrepreneur and how to get through it, coming out the other side, feeling much better about the fact you got through the wall and moving forward from going through the wall, if you will.
Well, you know what? This year and last year has been very trying to a lot of entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs literally just bellied up and was like, I can't do it anymore. What I want to tell everybody is you have a dream. The only way that this dream can be a reality if you stay the course. You're going to get your bumps in the road. You're going to get those stumps where you say to yourself, this is not going to work. We've all had it. I've had it earlier this year. My son had gotten sick and I kind of had to put my business on hold for me to get new clients because I had to focus on that. That was a bump in the road. So I want you to really stay focused, keep faith, because if I didn't do that, I would not be here talking with Andy on this great, on this great show. But not only that, I would have given up. And you cannot give up when you're in business. They always say if you're an entrepreneur that you are in that range where you're crazy. Stay crazy. Be crazy, because you are the only one that sees your dream and that you will be able to see it completed. And be creative. People were telling me, like, Sharon, I don't understand what I have to do to get out there to let people know about it. Some people, event planners, you see how event planners literally changed over to now virtual events. You have to look outside of the box. You can't just stay within what you do because it won't work. You always have to have different things going on and on and on. So stay the course. Do not give up.
Great advice. And again, for the entrepreneurs watching the show, rewind what Sharon just said. That's a pearl of wisdom right there. I mean, I can see that. Maybe you're going to write a book and that will be sort of what the book is about. Now, you've got something very interesting. And by the way, we're very happy that your son is feeling better and he's gotten through the rough waters, like you mentioned. And that's really the most important thing. Now, you have something that you say that I love. It's, if you're amazing at what you do, but nobody knows you're amazing, that your coaching program is really for that kind of a person. And I love that so much because a lot of people feel that they're amazing at what they do, but nobody knows it. And that's really what your specialty is making the world know the amazing angle, if you will, about the entrepreneur or the company. So you've got so many people that love going through the process. This one-on-one coaching program, really helps people work on crafting their message. Do you also work with sort of what I call solo entrepreneurs, people that are maybe a one-man or one-woman shop besides just sort of the smaller company? Who exactly do you work with in this program?
So I work with solo entrepreneurs. I work with entrepreneurs who actually have a team. Again, I work with larger companies because I bring on my team with that. So I do the coaching, the one-on-one coaching. I do the done for you. And I also do a masterclass. So, people want to work with a community. And I realized that when I was in a community with my coaching, that it helps you build and it helps you gain more knowledge of other things and also work with partnerships. So my masterclass that I have up to 10 people in there, because I actually focus on them one-on-one while we're in this masterclass, and we go in a deep dive. We have 16 sessions, and I have experts that comes on. I have actually journalists from national, local, and regional that comes on and talks to them about how is it that they look to be pitched to. So these are things that I enjoy, especially in the group setting, because you hear so many stories and it feeds off of each other. They feed off of each other because when they get a win, everybody gets a win. So they cheer each other on. And it's kind of like a fun competition or challenge, I should say, because when one person, gets a win, oh, I just got a placement in a news article or something to that extent. Another one would say, you know what, that's great. What did you do? And then we feed off of that. And then next week they get that. So the master class is so fun. You learn about so many people. You also hear about the stories of what they've gone through and really pull out and show that, you know what, unfortunately, sometimes your story can be someone else's story that resonates. And that person just may say, I want to work with you because I was in your situation. You will understand me better. That's why storytelling is so important in public relations. But I pretty much work with anyone who literally is willing to work on change and work on understanding the storytelling and not the selling. The selling will come, but you have to understand how to tell your story.
I love it. It's so important. And this masterclass sounds like it's a must-do for anybody. I mean, no matter whether you're a C-level executive in a Fortune 100 company or an executive in an Inc. 500 company or a startup entrepreneur, anybody can really benefit from this masterclass that you give, Sharon. I mean, it sounds incredible. Now, I know you've only sliced out a certain amount of time being the girl boss and the super mom, of course. So I wanted to ask another question about public speaking, because one thing you do so well, and you get invited to events and conferences and workshops to talk about public relations as a public speaker. What advice can you give as a well-known public speaker to someone that maybe gets a little worried or a little freaked out or a little, apprehensive about doing public speaking? Are there some tips you might be able to give to some entrepreneurs out there that maybe are unsure of themselves about getting into the public speaking arena?
Well, first of all, if you are looking to get into the public speaking arena, which is a great platform to build your brand exposure, one, always have a topic of what you are going to speak on. If you do not have a topic that you're going to speak on, now, I always tell clients, if you can't pitch numerous things to a media outlet, you're going to confuse them. And then you just lose their attention altogether. And that's with just human beings, period. But when you want to be a speaker, you should literally have topics of what you want to talk about. And then practice as much as you can. Know that you can spit that out without a problem and build your confidence. You need to speak with confidence because no one is going to believe someone that talks like this. I'm sorry. Would you like to use my services? No one is going to believe you. No one is going to join you. No one is going to do any of that. Have confidence, have your topics, know what your topics are about, and practice as much as you can. Then pitch to a conference organizer and make sure that that's what they're looking for also, because you have different topics. Some conferences won't like there are certain conferences that doesn't want a publicist to come out and speak. So I have to do my research in terms of who I want to do who I want to speak, be on their stage. But do your research also, but confidence, know your topics, practice. That will get you to be a great speaker.
That's amazing. And I think we're going to bring you back on the show. We're going to unpack all of that public speaking sort of information that you have locked up in that brain of yours. I mean, it's just incredible. You could probably write a book on that as well. Listen, this has been an amazing interview. I mean, here you are, you're a publicity strategist. You've got the 6-month media coaching program. You've got the masterclass, which, I'm sure people are just knocking the doors down to get into. You do the full PR, public relations for the larger firms as well. And, you brought your entire family in to build this company that really, resonates for me, and I'm sure is going to resonate for so many people watching. I invite everyone to reach out to Sharon, the girl boss, if you will. Of course, it's over her shoulder. That's why I call her that. But this is really a great interview because, when I interview people and I learn something and I want to go run and look at my own bio after talking to you, I know that it's going to resonate for everybody else, Sharon. So listen, this is wonderful. Congratulations on what you're doing at NetStruc PR. Ms. Sharon Devonish Leid is a leader in the field. And if you need some help, please reach out to Sharon. We'll put the links below the interview, of course. But Sharon, I want you to promise me that you're going to come back on the show and unpack sort of the public speaking part of what our customers and what our clients and viewers need to watch. And Sharon, thank you so much for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. This was amazing.
Thank you so much, Andy. I had fun. Thanks again.